Hello, hello there. Ron Callis with another episode of Automation Unplugged. We are here in early fall 2024 and super excited to bring you two guests, not one. So two's better than one from a super exciting design firm actually out of London. And we were able to coordinate schedules and get us all together. Let's go ahead and meet Keith Jones, co-founder of designflow AV, and Adam Kraemer-Dent, who also is helping to head up the lighting design efforts over at designflow Lighting. And Keith and Adam, how are you fellas doing?
Hey, Ron. All good, yeah. How you doing?
Hey, Ron. Yep.
Awesome.
Great.
Where are you guys now? We know I'm here in Florida, and you
Mhm.
guys are over there. So it's much later right now. It's actually, I'm going to date us. It's about 3:00 p.m. here. What
Yeah,
time is it there for you guys?
it's almost 9.
Almost 9. I appreciate you guys staying up late for me here for the show.
Hey, it's the best thing to do on a Friday evening.
Awesome. Keith, you guys are based out of London. Tell everyone that may not be familiar with designflow. Who are you guys and what type of work do you do?
Okay, so designflow is all about AV design. We've been working with integrators, installers since 2015. And yeah, I guess for me, it's all about design and helping installers and integrators improve the way they deliver the design and the documentation of their projects. So that's what we're all about.
Where are the customers generally based right now for designflow? Are you only working with clients in England? Are you spreading out to Europe or the Middle East or the US?
We've got a global handful of really good customers. So some in the UK, some in the US, some in the Middle East, and a couple of guys in Australia. So it's pretty all over the globe. And I guess it works for us because we're good with time differences, as you can see.
Doing great
Mm.
so far. No, it's
Yeah,
falling asleep.
still awake, so that's all good. And I think the time difference sometimes works against us, but the Australian, when we were in Denver for CEDIA, the Australia time difference was like quite tricky because they're like opposite time scale. But yeah, it works well. It's all about finding the guys who need our help in their businesses and understand where we can fit in and where we can add value for them. So that's the crux of it.
Oh, that makes sense. And Adam, you're heading up the lighting design portion of the business. Can you tell us just a little bit about just generally what that scope of services looks like today?
Yeah, sure. With my background being on the other side of the fence for most of my career as an integrator, yeah, there is a market for the lighting design, that creative element, rather than the less creative AV design, if you like. The AV design is driven by the sale, what system gets sold to the client, and then the design falls out after that. Whereas the lighting design is very much the other way around. It's sold, the creative element of it is sold to the client, and then the design comes after that. So it's very much the other way around. Yeah, there's definitely a gap in the market for integrators to get involved with providing lighting design, because that's why I'm seeing it. I've been on their side of the fence, just seeing that there's terrible lighting designs out there, and
Including my house. I'm here in Fort Lauderdale, and this builder, I won't call them out, but I got the typical 4 cans and a fan in most rooms. Now, I don't have one of the big fancy houses that a lot of your customers ultimately would have. So I think what I have is probably pretty typical. But it's fair to say, even a lot of big, beautiful homes, lighting and the design of fixture selection and fixture count, and then even the control of those systems is often negated in the entire process. Adam, when you were on the integrator side, did you see that was often true as well?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because I would be on the lighting control side of it, having to ring people, chase them and ask them for the detail that should have been there, really. And it still surprises me now. Some of the homes that we see, multi-million-dollar homes with zero design, and you ask the client, who's done your lighting design? and you just get a blank look. You're like,
What do
and
you
they're
even
looking
mean
around.
the lighting design? The electrician put in my four cans in a fan. What
Yeah,
as another option?
exactly. That's what we're seeing more and more. Some clients, they're savvy to it and they'll be a lighting designer and somebody's thought about it. But I'd say 95% of the time, they look to the architect and the architect just shrugs and says, we just dropped some we dropped some blobs on the plan and that's the lighting design. And you're like, that's what everybody's working to on site. Well, what lights are there? How much is the client paying? And then again, the client just, yeah, it's an interesting journey. It's that opening question, who's done your lighting design, opens up a can of worms and hopefully we'll
Brandon,
get
I'm
you.
totally putting you on the spot with this question, Adam. But of
Yeah.
all the quote unquote luxury homes that you've come across,
Mhm.
what, and I don't even know if that's a fair categorization, but I'm trying to get to what percentage of homes in the category where maybe they should get a lighting design, what percentage of homes do you think actually have a proper lighting design?
10, 10% there'll be a designer, somebody's thought about it early enough at the right stage and it's there. All the information is there when the integrator's asking for dimming types, number of circuits, loading on each circuit, driver locations, things like that. Yeah, it's a super high percentage that's just not there. The design and build industry as a whole is lacking on the lighting side. Absolutely.
Yeah. I would imagine that stat is probably close to the same over here in North America. It's got to be the vast majority of these homes are going underserved in that way. Adam, let's start with you. What's your background? Where did you come from? What's your backstory? I heard you were with an integrator, and then I'm going to bounce the same question to you, Keith.
Yeah. So my background, briefly, is British Army telecommunications. So joined the army straight from school, got into telecommunications, traveled the world, Iraq, Bosnia, Kosovo, Afghanistan, all over the place, doing networks, installing satellites, local area networks, moving on, doing the rest on the passive side of the networking. Left the army in 2005, got into business to business telecommunications initially, but had a client who said, look, you're a smart guy, come and sort this system out that I've got at home. And it turned out to be a control flow system. So that was my first look at AV, if you like. And it wasn't, this particular case, it was a networking problem. So it was an easy fix for me. The more I started looking into it, the touch screens on the wall, playing music around the house, thinking it's all sat on internet protocol. It's what I know. This is what I do. So it was a relatively easy transition. From that point, I started to inquire what's control for. There's AMX at the time, Crestron, and just got into it slowly that way. Had my own business for a couple of years on the integrator side. And then 2008, the crash in 2008 put an end to that. And then since then,
That's right when I launched my business. I launched it in November of '07. So I launched
oh,
it right into a freight train of '08.
yeah, it hit pretty hard. But the bigger company, so I closed the business then because there were no customers, but went consulting for the bigger companies that rode through the crash in '08. And then, yeah, since that, I've been UK based, mainly in London, do integrators from project manager right up to the last sort of 15 years as a consultant on design and sales. And yeah, really focused on lighting. So it was really from an early stage in the industry, lighting always held my interest. It's high impact. The clients really engage with lighting. As soon as you start talking about speakers and a really well-dressed rack that every system needs, the client just glazes over. They're not bothered. But with lighting, I found that point of engagement, the input from them was much higher and the engagement was just much better. So yeah, my focus for the last sort of 15 years has been on lighting, the control, obviously from an integrator side, but the design is what really interests me, that creative element. Combine that with the knowledge of fittings and control that I already had, it was a no-brainer. And I've just looked at lighting design from that point. And then last year, 2023, at ISE is where I approached Keith at designflow. I was well aware of Keith and his services. We used them at the companies I was consulting. We used Keith's services for design. And it was an opportunity that I saw. And I initially spoke to Keith in ISE. I think I said to you, what was the first words that I said to you, Keith? You've got my dream job.
It's
Would Keith say you had me at hello?
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, from my point of view, customer facing all the time, expectation management was the big thing, the biggest part of my job. To be on the other side of that now, to peek behind the curtain and be on the supplier side, but having the knowledge of the importance of that customer engagement, knowing that people still buy from people at the end of the day, and the people that we're selling to, all they need is information. Just give them the information and let them make an informed decision. And it's the same with lighting design. You give them all the options, show them all the images and effects of lighting, and you find out what they like and what they don't like. So yeah, with designflow, I think I've found a really nice little niche that puts me on the other side of the fence, but then with all my designs, because lighting is so subjective, you've got to speak to the homeowner. You've got to be speaking to the people that are going to be sat underneath these lighting designs. So I get both. I get the creative outlet with the clients, and I'm one step removed from that expectation management sort of element of the integrator, the day-to-day on site. So yeah, that's the
Got to breathe a little bit of a breath of fresh air with that space or that distance.
I absolutely love it. Yeah, it's not working anymore. It's just I do what I love every day.
When you do what you love, it doesn't feel like work. So kudos to you to find that. I know many listening are probably like, man, I want to feel the way he feels. That's awesome. Keith, what's your background story?
Okay, let's go all the way back to
Let's go to elementary school. Let's go like
well, 1996, I left uni. So I studied product design at uni. So that's just to give people an idea. That's design has always been my passion. And then also another passion of mine is two-channel audio. So music, I love music. It's always been a big thing for me. And I left uni. I was like, I need a break from like product design. It's just, I'm burned out with it. I've been doing it because I did a 2-part degree. So I ended up doing 5 years of study. And I was like, I need a break from it. So I went and got a job in a two-channel shop, which was supposed to just be like a little, maybe a year or two, just maybe get a nice system for me up there kind of thing. That was the plan. And then I got offered the job as the manager of the shop after a year, which is just ridiculous. So I didn't have a clue what I was doing, but anyway, there you go. And then from there, I think I lasted there for about 7 or 8 years. And then we started to see the multi-room audio market growing, and the market at the time it was like Lin. I saw a post on LinkedIn today. Someone posted a link, Lin RCU from back in the 90s. And I just wrote on LinkedIn, I installed loads of them. I remember the blinky eyes and the what word do, and yeah, wow. So that's when I started a custom install business with a business partner about 2001. And shortly after we started, we realized that we were like looking for software to help us get designs with projects done, because Excel, Visio, it can only go so far as 2 separate entities. If you're doing quotes in Excel, which we were back then, and then Word document, and it was all like, my business partner was more than 10 years younger than me, and he was like, we've got to join all these dots up. He was like really just a bit more, I don't know, more forward thinking than I was at the time. I was just like, I just want to get the job done and have a weekend off. That was my kind of aim. So he's discovered D-Tools, and that's where my story from today kind of starts. After about 7 years, I moved on from that company, and I didn't really know what I was going to do. I took a career break, went traveling around Asia for 9 months, came back. My business partner was like, I was still part of the business then when I went traveling, came back, and I'd want to buy you out because it's been great when you've been away, I can make all the decisions. I don't need to ask you anything. There's no arguments. It's great. So we made an agreement. He bought me out, and the agreement was that I would keep doing his proposals and his design work as a freelance designer. So I was like, yeah, that sounds great. And then as in the industry, the word got around as what I was doing. Can you do it for us? Yes, of course. And then 2015, we formalized the company with a co-founder at the time. She's now moved on. And yeah, I've been doing design only since 2009. So it's been quite a long time doing it. And it's just what Adam said. It gets you away from the tricky client-facing side, which can be very demanding. I think that was the part of the integration business that I wasn't really enjoying at the time. And now I get to I'm still involved in projects, I'm still involved in design, but we've got that step back where we only work with integrators and installers. We don't work with end users. And then, yeah, up to date, as in last year, we started doing lighting design with Adam. So
I'm gonna put up on the screen for folks that are watching. Let's see if I can have technology behave here. I'm gonna say share screen. There we are. There we are. So here's your website,
yeah.
designflow.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to come over here to a section built in design. What I'm curious about are first of all, what are the types of design product, or you might call them services, that you provide for integrators? I want to go deeper and talk a lot about the philosophy of design and selling design versus, quote, I know so many businesses perhaps listening or watching do a lot of work and they don't necessarily charge fairly for their value contribution to a project, or at least that was my experience back when I was doing a design business starting in 07.
Yeah.
So let's just start there. What are the types of design or documentation services that you guys offer?
So we break up on the AV side, we break it up into drawings that go to site, and then drawings that will be used by the engineers to build things like racks and lighting panels, wire schematics, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Stuff that goes to site is obviously things like floor plans, cable schedules, and that may go with the integrator's own wire pulling team, or it may go with the electrical contractor's wire pulling team. And those documents will look different depending on who's reading them. If it's an AV installer's team, they don't need to be as foolproof as they need to be if you're handing them over to a contractor or a electrician. They've got to be legible. They've got to make sense. But I think a lot of the time we're working to like the lowest common denominator of trying to make things very clear and very obvious. And it's really all about just protecting the integrator's margins and protecting them from when things don't go to plan. If you've got a drawing of the plan, bit that didn't go to plan is different to the way your drawing is. You've got a piece of paper that says, look, this is how we asked you to do it. And you didn't do it like that. So it's not we're not responsible for fixing that problem. And that is a really good way. And I think what a lot of people maybe miss on these projects, it's all great when you land a big job. If you don't keep control of like things like change control, and keep everything documented so that when a crisis happens, you've got the answers in black and white. We drew it like this. This is the right way, been put together a different way. And that's why we've got a problem. As long as it's not your own team who's putting it together wrong and not following your drawings, which is another completely different conversation. But yeah, I think what you can see here is a site, drawings for site. So you've got a set of floor plans and a set of cinema drawings there, and then some elevation drawings. So that's the thing that I'm really big on, the elevations and just keeping control of what is actually happening on site.
When you're outside of the CAD elevation drawings, when you're doing like the pre-wire drawings, at least in this example I've got on screen, I see looks like probably pre-wire drops.
Yeah.
Are does the integrator that you're partnering or collaborating with that's hired you, do they also typically have D tools, or do they need to be using D tools? Or do they just need to be using it in a different capacity than the way you and your team use it?
We have all different types. So we have guys who have full D tools, and we will basically doing the work for them because they don't have the resources all the time, maybe. And then that will be imported into their D tools. So it's like they've done it themselves. To the opposite end of the scale, where it's someone who doesn't use D tools, and the fact that we use D tools is not it's not really neither here nor there. It doesn't have any impact on someone who doesn't have D tools, and it doesn't really have much impact on someone who does have it. And then you got the guys in the middle where it works quite nicely with if you've got someone using the cloud-based D tools for doing proposals, they've got that piece boxed away. So the proposals are quick, they're accurate, they get the job done, and then they win the job. And then they come to us they can push their proposals through to our D tools SI, and then we can start working on the engineering side of the project. That's quite a nice combo, but we work with people who don't have D tools, don't use D tools, use other software providers are available, as they say on the BBC in the UK. So yeah, it's not, I think the fact that we use D tools and we've used it for many years is almost like a legacy of how I started when I started doing custom. And it's something that, because I've been using it for so long, I never question it until Adam comes along and goes, why are you using that? It's drag and drop. It's so easy. Why wouldn't you use it? That's the answer. And we're looking now at actually taking to see if we can take the lighting design, which is currently being done all manually outside of, it's just CAD and
Just straight CAD, no database
CAD
connected.
and then the lighting schedule is done in Excel. We're looking to see if we can bring that into D tools to follow on normal process and take some, because at the moment Adam's doing, he's the guy with all the hats. He's going out, selling light design, coming back, doing the light design and managing the expectations of the client and all that kind of stuff. And in order for that side of the business to grow, as we now see after the first year, that there's definitely a market there.
The demand is there.
Yeah. We need to find ways to scale it, because obviously, as much as Adam loves doing it, we can't flog him to death, because then he'll get burned out and
they won't have as much fun.
exactly, yeah.
I'm curious. I want to get into this concept you mentioned, and even on your website, you call it site packs versus engineering packs. So you said like drawings for the field, maybe that help you. And I'm going to get a bit detailed here. Like in the sales process, you might have drawings that are simply used for communicating with a customer or prospect.
Yeah.
While you're trying to zero in on a design. And that concept is very similar, whether you're talking about a touch panel location or whether Adam is talking about potential fixture locations, right?
Yeah.
Looping
Yeah.
the group plans, fixture
Yeah.
schedules. Right, the idea that there's visual aids that help communicate to a customer what the design intent is.
Yeah. And in our experience, I'm not going to say right or wrong, but the best way that we've seen it achieved is just with an iPad with set plans and a pencil. And it doesn't have to be an iPad again. Other tablets are available.
iPad-like devices.
It's that with an Apple Pencil-like devices. It's just the quickest and easiest way of communicating with the client. And the bonus is, if you're then going to employ a design company, doesn't have to be designflow, could be anyone else. You've got your markup already done. If you've created that to communicate with the customer, which I think is a great idea to show a customer on
I think it's a no-brainer. I think why would
agree.
any business selling such expensive, complicated stuff in a house, why would you not want to make it easy to understand up front by all the stakeholders that matter, whether it's the architect, the designer, the homeowner.
Definitely.
Why would you not? But in the end, I'm going to ask a question and I'm going to compare it to lighting with Adam as it relates to the audio, video, and automation design key. Is it your experience that integrators are normally charging a fair fee to do that sort of concept drawing development and or yielding? Like, what's normal right now? The drawings? Because I have maybe personal beliefs that then budgets and scope documentation and sign-offs are probably a really good idea before
Yeah.
you head into a detailed proposal.
Yeah.
And I think a client should pay for a detailed proposal. That's my personal point of view.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
what is normal in the markets that you've been serving?
I think that people are still doing things the way that we used to do them when we were an installation integrator business, which is you go out, you see a project, you come back, you do a quote, you do a detailed, full bill of materials, because that's the way you're used to doing it. That's how you do it in details. You don't necessarily, after that meeting, you've got another meeting the next day with another prospective client. You don't have time to step back and go, am I doing this the right way? And what really helped us as an installation business, and this is something that probably, it's just one of those things. My business partner's sister left uni just as we were setting things. And she's like, I'll come in as a business consultant. And I was like, you're not a business consultant, but anyway, it doesn't matter. And I'll help you get the basics right. And she opened her eyes to, you need to have a document that explains how you work and when you want to get paid. Because if you don't have that to show a customer, how does the customer know how you do things? And that became our one sheet. We used to send that to every client. It was like our response to the client inquiry. We'd speak on the phone and then we'd send this. We'd say, we're going to send you a document about how we work, just so you can understand what we're going to do better. Go on the website, have a look at previous jobs, testimonies, all that kind of stuff, all the usual stuff. But this document was like key, because then there were no surprises when we asked them. We said, okay, we're going to spitball, ballpark, whatever you want to call it, your project, because we've done lots of them. We know roughly what you're going to need to spend. And once we've given you a ballpark, which is something that we're not going to just go, 100 grand. We're going to excel some mechanics to it, but very quickly to spit out a number. And then when we do a full bill of materials, we'll be within 10% plus or minus of the ballpark. And we could say that because we knew that we could.
We have experience. You've done
The engineering before. It's what you do. And what that did really quickly for us was it just got rid of anybody who wasn't the right person for us, who didn't have the right budget, who wasn't, oh no, I want really, I want the best, but I want to spend 10 cents. Those kinds of, just got rid of all of that nonsense. And the how we work thing put a lot of those kinds of people off anyway. So it was all about trying to cut through all the noise and just only do proper proposals for people who paid a design fee and who were serious customers who were they're gonna buy something from someone.
In sales, getting a no is just as important as getting a yes.
Yeah.
And getting the right no's
Yeah.
is, in many cases, more important than getting the yes.
Yeah.
That way you don't waste your time and energy on
For everybody
people.
wants, we can have time to waste. So, I think you've got to cut through all of that noise and just get straight to the point. And people, when I tell the story of like how we set up the way we used to charge for design based on my business partner's mum was a director of a big interior design company, and they sent us probably 90% of our business. And she just sat us down one day. She said, listen, this is how we work. We won't touch any project that's worth less than £1 million, and we charge 10% for our design. Why don't you just do the same? Just charge 10% for design, because the customer's used to us doing it. We're going to introduce them to you. So if you have the same fee structure as us, I'm not saying you won't touch a job less than £1 million. That obviously was a bit toppy, but that's the model we used. And yeah, that helped get more no's, but the ones that said yes, they're fully on board. Yeah, we want to pay you 10%. And then the design we would do would be a full design, like all the site drawings, cable schedule, rack elevations, panel drawings, full schematics, the whole lot. And a lot of people say to me, like, it's too early, you can't do it at that stage. But by doing a full design, you then can generate a proper bill of materials. You've got everything. Because you've got all the cables in, you've got everything there.
It's an engineered proposal versus a bill of materials.
Literally, when we finished it, we'd hand over everything to the customer,
Right.
like hands off. Here's all of your documentation that you need to finish this project from beginning to the end. Obviously, changes will happen. This will work, as this is what we spoke about. It's what you want. And then we'd step back and we'd be like, we can carry on now if you want us to start supplying cables. You've got our how we worksheet. You know what the next step is. We need 25% for cable delivery. Or you can go with someone else. If you're not feeling the way that we work, or you're just not happy with the one-to-one relationship that we're having, maybe you don't like my dry sense of humor, that kind of stuff, whatever it might be, feel free to go and knock on someone else's door, or get yourself other quotes or whatever it might be. But you've got something that you can take that design to any integrator and ask them to price it. And you know that the 3 quotes you get will all be for the same thing, unless you allow them to make substitutes. So,
And when you were doing that, Keith, did the vast majority of the people still then hire you to finish the project?
funnily enough, yes. Yeah. Because you're already, I think the fact that you're prepared to walk away and say, I'm done with the design. If you want to carry on, great. If you don't, that's also fine. It shows a lot of confidence in what you've already done and the relationship that you already built up with the customer. And I think that's what maybe some people miss, that it's once you've got the trust of the customer, if you walk away, they'll follow you because they want to work with you. So I think that's key.
No, that makes sense. Adam, when you're looking at lighting, what is the normal way that I'll say the end customer, and I'm going to refer, maybe you have a lot of different perspectives here, but I'll start with the integrator. What's the normal way the integrator and lighting design services they're offering a customer? Those lighting designs are not typically for free. Isn't it always for a service fee of some kind, and that's understood? Is there a question from the customer that they would be paying for design?
No, absolutely not. I've been sold AV design for many years. Selling lighting is far easier. It's a lot higher impact for the end user, the homeowner. It's really easy to get them excited about lighting design because it's visual. There's an instant visual impact. Oh, my house can look like that. Amazing. Where do I sign? How much have I got to pay for my house to look like that? Where on the other side, but selling AV design, there's nothing tangible that, yeah, I'm getting speakers and I can put a value to that. But surely I've had so many battles trying to sell AV design. And I think that comes from just, you got to have the conversation early, very early so the expectation have to pay design, because he mentioned that right up front. If you start talking about the systems and the cinemas and the speakers and how good they sound, and then right at the end you say, oh yeah, and here's a $10,000 design fee.
It won't go over very well.
No, exactly. But with lighting, it's back to front to the AV, because the sales aids are lots of pretty pictures of amazing homes, but on focusing in on the lighting. And yeah, it just gets them excited straight away. You say, okay, a good lighting design looks like this. Have you got one? Who's done it? Why have they done that? What fittings are you getting? And I implore the integrators to start asking these questions, because we're still seeing terrible lighting designs. If there's a lighting design done, it's more than likely just symbols being dropped on a plan by the architect to tick a box, and it'll just be rows of fixtures, so it's really well lit, like Walmart. That's what I say. Walmart, really well lit.
It'll be bright enough. Now, it may not be pretty, but it'll be bright enough.
Exactly. So nobody can say to them, it's not well lit, because it's going to be well lit. There's no shadows anywhere. So,
right.
And once they start asking these questions on the projects that they're on and start to grow, the customers will start looking around at their team, at the consultants, who's done the lighting design. What fixtures are you using? Why are you using those fixtures? How much is it costing me? Oh, yeah, we did it for free. It's just part of what we do. And like, why is an architect doing a lighting design? Did he design the plumbing system? Did he design the, I don't know, the sprinkler system? No, he didn't, because he's not an expert. That it's trying to get them the message across that it's a specialist subject. And if done right, this is what it could look like. If done wrong,
It
yeah.
can be bad. Tell
Yeah.
me about the fee structures and what is normal? Like what are and or what are the schools of thought of how you've seen lighting design services sold to the end customer? What are the different frameworks?
So it has to be broken down. The message, the most important message, I think, has to be that it's not one size fits all. It's really subjective. Every design that we do is different, and it's based on your likes. And I'm going to give you logic and design rules that say that you can't do that, but you can steer them the way that you want to go. But you have to break it down. And what we do, we start with one room. If you just want to focus on the open plan living, dining, kitchen area, because that's an area, that's a key area that most homes have, that have multiple entry exit points and at least 7 or 8 different lighting circuits. And again, it feeds into the control, the lighting control aspect. You have a nice keypad on the wall that sets the scenes, or you have a bank of 8 dimming knobs that you've got to turn for every door into that space. So we start at a single room and build them up. And the sales aids that we've put together show, even if you're doing a lighting design for one room, there's 6 different documents that you need. There's a lot of work that goes into it, because the guys on site need to know what cables they're pulling in, from where to where, what size cutouts, is there any first fix elements? Do we have to get different trades involved? Do we have to get the main contractors involved, the plasterers, the joiners, the carpenters? Once you show them what a good lighting design should be, then it's a much easier sell. And then what tends to happen is go, okay, I can see the value in that. Let's go for it. But I could do with my entrance hall. That's what people see when they come up to my house. And then when you actually say no, when they come through your gates and they're driving up to your house, the lighting is really going to make or break your property. So you start there. Then they get to your front door. What does the lighting say about the house? So you can build it up from that. So we go single room, single floor, 2 floors, 3 floors, and then a full house, internal and external. So they can pick and choose, and they can see the different value add stages along the way. And I think that's, from a selling design point of view, that's been important for us to try and not just break it down on the lighting side, but try and have that synergy with the AV design. So last year we changed our pricing structure on the AV to start building them up slowly.
Makes sense. I had a technical question just for you guys as a design firm working with different integrators. And it sounds like in the United States, in Canada, in the UK, and in other markets. Do you guys, and this is both for lighting, maybe we'll start with you, Adam, then ask the same for you, Keith. Do you guys collect that company's lighting manufacturer or fixture preferences or brands? Same for the AV. Do you have to learn what their mix of gear is and work within that framework? Or do you work within your recommendations and push that back down and advise that they pick up these lines? What's the normal way, or I guess the best way you found to work with people?
Yeah. So with lighting, it's very different with AV, because they're looking at me as the expert to say, how do you get my house looking like that? What fixtures do you need to use? So it's driven by us on that side, straight to the homeowner. So we've got thousands of fixtures available from multiple manufacturers to pick the right fixture for that property. So the difference, the AV is the other way around again. It's led from a product perspective, and people have favorite products. But yeah, with the lighting, it's very much.
So your contract, Adam, even when you're working with an integrator, you're then ultimately and again, I'm not familiar with exactly how that dynamic's working, but you're able to work within your full arsenal of lighting, fixture, and manufacture options. And ultimately, you're able to bring that custom solution to the consumer.
Absolutely. Yeah. So most of the major manufacturers will operate in the Middle East, in the Americas, and in Europe. Yeah, absolutely. So I can get any fixture I want on any site that I want in all the major continents. So that's where it's different from AV.
You use that word creativity early on. Now I see where you're coming from. Like you have this blank canvas and you
Absolutely.
get to use any color of paint that you want, depending on what's going to help you paint the prettiest picture.
Yeah, and you're getting the homeowner excited right from an early stage, whereas Keith's not.
So Keith, how do you work within, because I'm going to make an assumption. You don't know how to design, you and your team don't know how to design. Maybe you do, by the way, design all things across all systems. And so do you concentrate on collaborating with integrators that are like, I think I saw on your website, a Crestron logo or a Control 4 logo. Do you pick those particular types of concentrations of dealers, of which there are thousands? So there's a very large cohort there. How do you operate?
It's not necessarily. We've worked with people who do all kinds of weird and wonderful things that, like, there's a brand I don't know if it's in the US, there's a brand in Europe called Fabaro, which do KNXy stuff, which literally, this happens rarely. The integrator came to me and he was like, yeah, we're going to use this. And I was like, we've never heard of it. But don't worry, we know the right people to speak to find out about how this is going to work. If it's KNX based, it's a protocol and it's a single cable. So we haven't got too much to worry about. When you really dig into Control 4, Crestron, RTI, whatever it might be, control system wise, the architecture is all very similar. As Adam touched on earlier, as we all know now, is basically everything is IP based. And a switch, I think that it comes down to switches and routers, and they all do the same job in different ways.
But your database, sorry to jump in there, but you're working in D-Tools. So you've got pieces and parts on your drawings.
We only have 10 things in our database.
I'm betting 10,000 or 20,000. How many doodads are in your database?
Haven't looked, and we don't want to. It's like when we were doing, up until last month, we literally just finished last month. We were doing proposals for people because that's a very tricky area for a lot of installers and integrators, just getting proposals out the door in the time frame that they've given themselves to do it in.
Yeah.
And we were helping, I think in the peak of it, we were helping about 10 plus integrators doing all their proposals, and it was a full-time job. It was, we were doing like probably 50 proposals a week. And we had 3 people going at it, like hammer and tongs to get it done. And the problem that we had with that side of the business is it's very difficult to charge properly for the time that you need to do an actual proper proposal. We got very efficient at it because when you do a lot of something, you become naturally more and more efficient. So everything we had was built in packages. So when you bring in a speaker, it brings the cable with it, that kind of stuff, that basic D-Tools functionality. But yeah, through doing that, like every time we do a proposal, there'd always be something that wasn't in the database on almost every single project. So the database now is quite bloated. But on the plus side, now that we're very much focused on just engineering AV design and no proposals, it means we haven't got to worry about the pricing side of it. So that itself is actually the reason why we stopped doing proposals, because post-pandemic, the price fluctuations, things that we'd had one price in our database for 5 years, suddenly all those prices changed, and they were changing.
Database management, anybody listening knows that in proposal design and even project documentation, your database management is a bear.
Yeah.
And early days of our engineering business, that was for me back in 07 through 15. I still wake up with sometimes thinking about all the database management work we had to deal with.
You're looking at the database manager.
The database, oh man, then
Yeah, I need a gun, right?
I was
Because
gonna say that sounds like nights and weekends in between getting the work done. That
it
sounds
was
tough.
when we were doing proposals, it was because I was doing database management and pricing updates. Yeah,
That's hard.
I'm so glad I don't do it anymore.
Well, let's
Look how lucky I am now.
look how happy you are. Well, let's talk about something that's actually the opposite of hard, and maybe it's over to Adam's favorite word, creative and fun. And you showed me this, and you're gonna have to tell me whether this is actually ready for prime time. You did authorize me to show this, so
Come on.
I'm not showing any secrets here.
No.
But you guys have developed something you're calling Interactive Project Showcase.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I'm gonna share my screen. I'm gonna see if technology behaves. There we go. And so for those that are listening, what I just put on the screen is it says Interactive Project Showcase. This is a product, a service that you guys at designflow offer your customers. I'll let you tell us more about it. But I'm gonna click on a button here. It's a Matterport type environment where I'm walking around a home. This is a real home. This is actually this is your location right where you are right now, right?
Yeah. If you come down this end, you'll be in the office. I'm sitting.
Am I gonna see you there? Or if I
No, you're
walk,
not going to see me there.
I'm not gonna see. Okay, so there's no camera robot actually walking
No,
down your
God,
home.
no.
But when I click over here, I see the TV has content, and those that are listening, they hear audio.
Yeah.
And it's sport feeds. So if I go down the hallway here,
Probably going to go off now. Yeah.
yeah, it's gonna go off. I'm gonna walk over to your office because I'm gonna listen to an Alexa command that's gonna turn this lamp off. So if I click this
Alexa.
button,
Turn off the lights.
everyone's gonna see that's watching. They're gonna see. So I just had a Matterport though that became interactive. And I want to talk about what is this? Tell us what this is, and then we'll talk about potential applications. Because I know some people are going to be listening, and now they're going to go, "Oh crap! I need to jump over to YouTube to see actually what they're talking about."
Yeah. Way to get them onto YouTube. It's a good idea.
There you go. They're going to jump on LinkedIn or YouTube to check this out. So talk to us. What are we looking at here?
So, as you quite rightly said, this is like Matterport, but we've made it interactive. So you can turn on TVs, you can control lights, you can show lighting scenes, which is something that Adam loves. Horror.
My name's Lucas.
Right. For those that are listening, who Lucas is, I've walked into the
My
bathroom
house.
and there's a mirror TV and there's a video of a little spider on the screen.
If you click on the eye, you'll see the install drawing that we did for that as a PDF.
Okay.
So that's how we installed it. And the same thing, the reason in the lounge, the reason we had the Sonan's invisible video on the TV is because that room has invisible speakers in the walls behind the TV. And get King's Gear. If you move on to that social and then turn around, then press the day, you'll see the install drawings that we've done with the. It's like I call it the frowny face. So back in the day when you had show speakers in the room, you have a smiley face around the TV, and that's the frowny face, but you can't see it because it's all invisible. And that, I think, is what is really powerful with the Interactive Project Showcase, in that you can show off all the hidden technology, and not just that, also all the hidden work that goes into a project to an end user. So, as you know, Ron, you can meet a customer inside this showcase. Looked at yesterday, and you can show them around a project that you've completed, and just talk to them about what you've done in that project and how it can change the way they live in their house through technology. I think that's what we're trying to do with this showcase. Just make things more interactive, maybe bring a smile to people's faces when they go in the bathroom and they can turn on the TV, that kind of stuff. Just, I think we're all technology based. We're talking about installing technology in people's homes, and this is a great piece of modern technology that I think is absolutely just made for our industry.
So I'm envisioning something like this being a way to showcase the work that you've completed. And I'm imagining putting this, for example, embedding it into a website
Yeah.
and allowing for visitors to a website to interact with that. Does it work in that way, or is that type
Yeah.
of integration possible today?
That's exactly how it's designed. So embed in your website. So you might have a project page on your website or a portfolio page, whatever you want to call it. And then over time, you can build up a nice little portfolio of different projects that you've completed, and show, allow people to visit those projects on their own or as part of a guided tour around that property. And I think there's a lot of benefits. You don't have to make a deal with a customer to allow you to bring people to their completed job. You might have to get their permission to use that kind of stuff on your website. And I think it may be that we have a less expansive version that goes on the website. There's just a few little bits and bobs, so it doesn't give too much away about where the project is, or just for on the security side of things, because you never know who's looking on your website. Could be.
Could you interact with a keypad? Could you bring a keypad onto the
Absolutely.
screen? And I'm
Yeah,
thinking tying that into lighting.
Sure.
Adam, are you starting to imagine being able
Yeah.
to demo like lighting scenes with something like this?
Absolutely. Having been customer facing for so long, I know when customers start to glaze over and switch off. And it's when you show them working engineering drawings, which are they're vital to any successful project. With this new project showcase that we've got, it excites them. They're walking around a project. Oh, that's fantastic. And then with the information button, the drawings pop up.
But they're
While they're on
secondary.
screen. Yeah, the secondary, exactly. You can just say, look, without these drawings, this doesn't happen. And what problems that you might have had, look, this speaker's really close to the edge, so we had to move it over here. But you can't see that in the images. We're still on the images. We've still got the interest of the customer. And you're just there, and then you move on to another room. So it's just taking that project portfolio and the photos and images that you show them to the next level, and just giving that layer of interactivity. And if a client's struggling with something like lighting scenes, I don't get it, because I've been there. You're trying to explain to them the value, but then what you can do with this is just go to the keypad, press evening, and the whole mood of the room changes. The blinds come down, the lamps go on, the high level fixtures go off with one button press. And then they go, now I get it. It's so powerful.
It's so powerful. Visuals, experiential selling is powerful, and you've just empowered or enabled a virtual experiential selling.
Yeah.
And I think in our industry, I can't see how this isn't a big hit. Keith, are you, some of our audience, maybe the majority of our audience at Automation Unplugged are in North America. We do have a global audience. We appreciate all of our listeners and watchers around the world. But are you guys able to sell this service if people are in various markets outside of the UK?
Yeah, absolutely. The only place that we maybe can't cover right now is Middle East, but certainly Australia, UK, Europe, US, Canada, all good. So yeah, absolutely, we can offer this. That is the intention, is as our AV service, to a lesser degree at the moment, the lighting design service is offered to people globally. The whole kind of structure, the way that we're going to create the interactive project showcase, is the intention is for it to be available anywhere to any installer, any integrator. That's the plan.
That's a brilliant place to call it here for this show. We're just coming up on an hour. For folks that want to get directly in touch with you two gentlemen, I'll direct this at you, Keith. How can people get in touch with you?
I think the best way is through the website, which is on the screen now, I think.
But for our audio listeners, let's go ahead and describe that.
Okay, so if you head over to the website, which is https://www.designflow.co, or you can get on email info@designflow.co. You can get on the phone if you want.
People can call you. You have a phone. You have a
Phone
landline.
number, yeah, old school.
Old
Yeah.
school.
There is on the screen now, +44 20 7175 7270.
And you have a separate email for lighting. So Adam, do these, I've got lighting at designflow.co on the screen now. Does that go directly to you or your department?
That's it. That'll come through to me, and then we can have a chat on email. Yeah, absolutely.
Then Adam, just a specific question. If folks are out there tuned in, do they need to engage the business for both lighting and AV, or can they engage one or the other side of the business?
Yeah, one or the other is fine. It's completely separate. We'll take either or. Yeah, we have customers for both, and some customers take everything, some just lighting, some just AV.
Got it. Love it. Gentlemen, I want to thank you both for joining me here on Automation Unplugged. And it's been exciting to learn about your business and to learn about your software solutions. And in fact, I'm going to be talking to you guys about ways we might be able to collaborate in the future. I think a lot of people would benefit from this, but just want to say thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having us, Ron. Been
Thank
amazing.
you, Ron. Appreciate it.
Awesome, gentlemen.